welcome to another DSC Podcast episode where we talk about Pride Month because the UE Dentistry Student Council firmly stands against inequality. And tonight we have three amazing guests that will be joining our podcast episode. Amandine Cruz.
Hello po. It's a community where they can actually express themselves and be with other people who understand them.
Gabrielle Sison.
Hi, good evening. We just celebrated Women's Month because I think that gender equality is connected to feminism because there's a really big imbalance on the power between men and women.
Gerhart Pescader.
Good evening. This is a community where we can see our identities being represented and being comfortable with it.
You cannot just identify yourself immediately na lesbian, gay, or bisexual or trans because there's really a broad spectrum when it comes nga naman sa gender or basically preferences or how we identify ourselves, di ba?
Equality is important not only because it promotes human rights but also because it can eradicate gender norms.
Kung hindi mo i-respeto kung ano yung gender or how the person identify themselves, nilalabag mo na yung human rights ng taong yun.
I think it's important for us to battle that or overcome that in order for us to be given equal opportunities without having to base those opportunities on being a man or a woman or being whatever gender you identify as.
Let us rise up and raise our pride flags together as we celebrate ourselves, as we celebrate you dahil ikaw ang pride ng bayan. Hello, studentistas, and welcome to another DSC Podcast episode where we talk about topics that matters. And since June is just around the corner, we don't just expect raining pouring. We also expect a parade, and that is a parade of colors during the Pride Month. Yes, you heard me right, because the UE Dentistry Student Council firmly stands against inequality, thus supporting all LGBTQIA++ members and their rights. So join us as we launch a campaign in support to the LGBTQIA+ rights and gender equality. Pride Day every day. Ikaw ang pride ng bayan. We believe that acceptance is all that we need, not just mere tolerance. Acceptance in a society where rights are gender inclusive, where love triumphs over hate, where people are free to be who they really are without the fear of being condemned, and where all kinds of love are accepted. We celebrate the freedom every day to be your true self and encourage everyone to accept others as they are. Today, more than ever, let us rise up and raise our pride flags together as we celebrate ourselves, as we celebrate you dahil ikaw ang pride ng bayan. And tonight we have three amazing guests that will be joining our podcast episode. Let's start off with the ACE Director General-elect, Amandine Cruz.
Hello po.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Bahala na sila kung anong oras nila papanoorin to, di ba? Hi, Amandine.
Hello.
Ayan. And next would be a representative from Philcha. We have Gabrielle Sison.
Hi, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon.
O, di ba? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Ayan, si Gabrielle or Gabby, if I'm not mistaken, right? And last but not the least, eto nga naman, classmate Gerhart Pescader, the Assistant Project Director of PDSA UE Chapter.
Good evening. Good evening, guys.
Di ba? Ayan, good evening talaga siya. Bakit? Gusto niya ng gabi, di ba?
Panoorin nyo to ng pag-in-air. Good evening dapat.
Oo, di ba? Yan ang requirement. Sa gabi, papanoorin to. Anyways, and so first and foremost, I would like to thank you guys for accepting our invitation regarding our podcast episode for this month. Medyo napaaga lang I mean, napaaga in a sense that even though it is just May, okay, ang pag-uusapan natin would be a topic that is somewhat I don't want to say na controversial, but more of it's really something to be discussed nga naman and to be talked about. Most especially ito nga at parating na yung June. And sabi ko nga, di ba, pag June, hindi lang tag-ulan ang ating ini-expect dyan. We actually also expect rain of colors because June is actually a celebration, a month-long celebration of Pride, di ba? So for the information of our viewers, and pag Pride Month po or June, this is a celebration po of the LGBTQIA++ community. Ayan. And ayan, we have questions, of course, for our dear guests that we would like to ask them as we discuss further nga regarding itong LGBTQIA, and of course, yung SOGI bill na talaga namang kumbaga tinatangkilik, or rather pinupush nga naman ng LGBTQIA++ community. And speaking, umpisa na natin with the very first question. What does LGBTQIA+ mean ba talaga? Let's start off with Gabby.
Well, in simpler terms, LGBTQIA plus community or LGBTQIA means lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, or questioning, intersex, asexual, and more. And that's a lot of pluses because gender is actually a really broad spectrum to be exact. Because you can't really label yourself agad-agad. It's a very broad spectrum. And I think it can be classified into different things such as gender orientation, identity, expression, attraction, sex, and gender.
Thank you very much. How about you, Amandine? What was your idea when you actually heard about LGBTQIA, and how were you able to expound your knowledge about this particular acronym? We can say that.
Well, for me kasi, community siya with all of those who identify themselves as more than a gender. And ang alam ko kasi nag-form yung community na to kasi alam naman natin na present day mas accepting na yung mga tao. Pero it's a community where they can actually express themselves and be with other people who understand them.
I like that a community that would actually also understand them, di ba? Yan naman talaga kailangan natin. How about you, Gerhart? What is your idea? Or for you, does LGBTQIA+ just mean as is dun sa sinabi ni Gabby and ni Amandine? Or does this mean something else for you?
Yun, aside nga dun sa sinabi nila na the lesbian, the gay, bisexual, the trans, queer, intersex, asexual, and the others. But this goes beyond just having different labels or pronouns or different flags to represent the LGBTQIA+ community. But for me, just like what Amandine said, it is a community where we can see our identities being represented and be comfortable with it, having a sense of safety because it shows us the positive images of ourselves by connecting with others whom we have something in common. So for me, the LGBTQ community talaga is a safe place for the people who belongs in this community.
It's nice, no? It's nice to hear that there is a community that really accepts everyone. And yun nga, I feel safe with this kind of community. Alam nyo actually, just to share with you, dati hindi ko talaga alam kung yung after ng T. Ang alam ko lang dati talaga LGBT. Hanggang dun lang. Tapos nag-evolve na rin pala siya. Because just like, sabi ni Gabby rin kanina, di ba? LGBTQIA++, or basically why there was a plus plus or why there is a plus plus. Because it's a spectrum kasi talaga eh. You cannot just really identify yourself at the moment na either you're straight or sabihin natin when it comes to the LGBTQIA++ na idea. You cannot just identify yourself immediately na lesbian, gay, or bisexual or trans because there's really a broad spectrum when it comes nga naman sa gender or basically preferences or how we identify ourselves, di ba? So with this, what is the importance then of having gender equality for you guys? Let's start off now with Gerhart.
Gender equality is important not only because it promotes human rights, but also because it can eradicate gender norms and can lend equal opportunities for all genders. So we are still living in an era where we try to label and segregate who can do this and who can do that. We tend to have this thinking na, oh, these works are for the girls, these works are for the boys naman, which can lead to unsustainable development of our society. So, ayun, I really believe na gender equality is essential for the betterment of the society. Means that we will be using the full potential of the people regardless of their gender and not limit their works based on what's between their legs. So gender equality is really important and it is essential for the not only for the empowerment of all gender but also for the economic growth of one's country.
Which is true. Alam niyo ba, if I can recall, a few months back, we actually celebrated, di ba, yung Women's Month, di ba? And one of the goals rather, or yung isa sa mga pinaglalaban nga naman ng mga kababaihan back then was also gender equality in general, di ba? Kasi for them, they felt that there are certain opportunities, lalo na sa mga naging guests ko, there were certain opportunities wherein they were put down just because they're women. And that is also what is also being said by Gerhart, if I'm not mistaken, that may mga pagkakataon na yes, okay, identified na para yung opportunity or yung work or yung need probably is they only identify na fitting for a woman or for a man. But pag ang isang tao na galing na sa LGBT person who is from the LGBTQIA plus community na parang nawawalan na ng kumbaga dinidisqualify in a certain level, di ba? Parang ganoon yung ibig sabihin ni Gerhart. How about for you, Gabby? Why are we pushing for importance of gender equality? Why is it included in why is it being pushed by the LGBTQIA community?
I think it's actually really timely that we just celebrated Women's Month, because I think that gender equality is really connected to feminism, because there's a really big imbalance on the power between men and women that sabi nga ni Dr. Taylor Swift, like, I wonder if I could get there quicker if I was a man. You see, there's this stereotypes, there's this norms that we have to conform to. And I think it's important for us to battle that or overcome that in order for us to be given equal opportunities without having to base those opportunities on being a man or a woman or being whatever gender you identify as. So.
Thanks, Gabby. Final thoughts about the same question, Amandine.
For me kasi, gender equality, basic human right siya. So, it shouldn't matter kung babae ka or lalaki ka or lesbiana ka or bakla. Doesn't matter talaga. Kasi, majority of the people, like ang sinabi kanina ni Jer, socio-economic problem siya. And majority mga jobs, minsan ayaw nila ng babae kasi sasabihin nila na baka di na kayang gawin kung anong kaya gawin ng lalaki. So there's this stereotype that women are weak, or if let's say gay ka, so they assume na more on the feminine side ka, so hindi mo magagawa kung anong ginagawa ng lalaki. So for me, important siya kasi kung hindi mo i-respeto kung ano yung gender ng or how the person identify themselves, nilalabag mo na yung human right ng taong yun. Kaya for me, very important na may gender equality talaga.
Agree. Sabi nga, di ba, this is a socio-economic talaga, problem talaga. And just like what we have shared kanina, di ba, there are really a lot of jobs wherein masyadong namamata yung LGBTQIA plus community, wherein they are not given the opportunity just because of, how they see themselves or how they identify themselves. Parang sa kanila, sabi nga ni Amandine, pag halimbawa mga managerial roles, lalo na sa corporate, ganyan, parang usually isipin yan or mga first choices nila would be men, di ba? Tapos pag women kasi, since they would be fragile or tend to change their minds quickly, yon mga iniisipin nila. Tapos iba rin yung magiging perception nila when it comes to an applicant coming from the LGBTQIA plus community. So it's really a saddening reality na this is still happening. So kaya nga naman dapat talaga i-push natin to. So I think this is actually with that particular question, importance of gender equality. I think this is what pushed the LGBTQIA plus community to have what we call yung SOGI bill. Have you heard this, guys? Yung SOGI bill? Ayan. So, since lahat tayo tumatango, ayan. So, what is SOGI bill nga ba? Let's for our guests. And what is SOGI bill and why do you think or why do you feel that the SOGI bill is actually important to be, pushed or para kumbaga malaman ng lahat. Ayan. Let's start naman at this point with Amandine.
So if I'm not mistaken, yung isa ding term ng SOGI bill is yung anti-discrimination bill. So yung bill na to, ang pagkaalam ko is for equal opportunities for queer people to have the same experience as yung mga heterosexual, male, female, ganun. So, feel ko ang pinaka-effective na way na malaman yung mga tao and maging aware sila about the bill. Uso kasi ngayon lahat, di ba, nasa social media, nasa Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, lahat. So, mas nade-disseminate mo rin yung information about this bill to a lot of people talaga. Kasi, hindi ko alam, pero nakita ko yung based on statistics, mga Pinoy daw, tayong laging nasa online, naka-phone, gano'n. So, mas madaming tao ang may reach with the knowledge of SOGI bill. And even abot pa nga yan internet. So, wide yung coverage of people yung maabutan niya. And yun, makakatulong talaga siya to give awareness to people about it na yung mga rights ng lahat na hindi lang right na lalaki, right ng babae hanggang doon lang. And siguro madami din, ako rin recently nalaman ko lang din na there's more people who identify themselves not just yung lesbian or gay, as in madami talaga. Parang ikaw din Kuya Jem, diba? Recently lang. Doon ko rin nalaman. Pero again, kasi may mga nababasa ako online about these topics. Ito na nga, pinapush na nga natin yung SOGI bill for them so that it will also make them feel, the bill will also make them feel safer then in the community. Kaya ayun.
Thank you, Amandine. Gerhard, how about you? What are your thoughts about this?
Nagbasa talaga ako about SOGI bill and I think that's very important, di ba? I-educate mo muna yung sarili mo before you educate others. And as I've understand, SOGI bill is about the protection, no, not just the LGBT community, but all. It protects us from gender-based violence, discrimination, and it gives equal access to education, job opportunities. Basically, SOGI bill allows the LGBTQ community to live free from discrimination and it can promote acceptance. And for me, we still have a lot of work to do with it when it comes to implementing this bill. A lot of people still haven't understand what it is to have this bill, but I understand where are they coming from, since they tend to think that SOGI is just to prioritize the LGBTQ community and somewhat a special treatment or special rights. But most of them doesn't know that everyone has SOGI and therefore everyone can be also protected by this bill. Most of them insist on saying na we already have existing anti-discriminatory laws in our country, but the sad reality is that these laws are insufficient to fully support and protect the LGBT community. And everyone should understand that this bill was not created to step on other people's freedom of expression, but is an added human rights. According nga to Sen. Risa Hontiveros, hindi magkalaban ang karapatan ng marginalized sector, di ba? The advancement of one is definitely the advancement of all. Yan.
Alupit. Meron pa Senator Hontiveros talaga. Well, it only shows lang din talaga, for how important it is this SOGI bill to you, Gerhart, diba? Kasi kung wala lang din naman ito, Hindi, you would not go into that detail and even remember certain quotes being given by personalities, di ba? How about you, Gabby? Did you only think first that Soji Bill is about LGBTQIA++, na doon lang talaga nagre-revolve?
I don't think that Soji Bill practically revolves around the LGBTQIA plus community. I think it's just tailored more on towards them. It's like how is this term? Parang everybody has Soji, just like what Jer said. Everybody has their own sexual orientation. Everybody has their own gender expression. And I think this is a bill or sana maging law na that protects everybody. Kasi I think there's a common misconception talaga that people think that Soji is only for the LGBTQIA plus community. But when this bill or law takes into effect, I think there's going to be a very drastic change in the Philippines and how our rights, our basic human rights are protected.
Thank you very much. So, we mentioned a while ago that unfortunately, even though us Filipinos, sabi nga ni Amandine, most of the time we are in our phones, di ba? And kumbaga, ano na tayo talaga naka-glue na tayo sa mga phones natin all throughout the day. But for some reason, di ba? Ang tagal na rin naman itong Soji Bill, but for some reason, just like if I'm not mistaken, also mentioned by Jer and Gabby kanina, na marami pa rin talaga ang hindi na-educate or inform about the importance of Soji Bill or what is Soji Bill all about, diba? So, Amadine mentioned a while ago na social media can actually be one of the powerful tools. But what are the other things or what are the other platforms, what are the other activities that you know or you have been doing or you have been a part of when it comes to dissemination of the Soji Bill? Jer?
Yun nga, when it comes to dissemination about information of Soji Bill, ayun nga, just like what I mentioned a while ago, dapat i-educate muna natin yung sarili natin. We should be well-versed all about the Soji Bill kasi mahirap naman na we will be telling myths or yung mga haka-haka lang. And I think in order for us to really disseminate good information about Soji Bill, we should start at home. I think it is very important na sa within family na pag-uusapan na to, especially sa mga magulang natin who are quite one of the most reluctant about this idea. Kasi yung mga older generations tend to go by the rules of their religions. We are binded by these cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, and it makes them or it is a hindrance for them to really understand Soji Bill. So I think we can really effectively share informations about Soji Bill starting from home. Kasi yun naman talaga ang kailangan natin. We should be telling our families or our friends kung ano ba talaga ang Soji Bill. And then from that, ma-share nila din ito sa iba. But of course, yung social media pa rin remains one of the most powerful tool as proven by the past election. Just kidding. But what I mean is that we should be telling factual informations about Soji Bill since although we are the one who are parang tayo yung pinaka-babad sa social media, but still, I think tayo rin ang isa sa may pinaka-mababang reading comprehension. Kasi we tend to believe, ayaw kasi natin magbasa eh. Pansin nyo ba, marami ayaw magbasa. Gusto yung mga info na napapanood na lang or yung ninanarrate na lang. And yung mga ganong bagay kasi is mas prone siya to revisionism and hindi talaga siya based on facts. So what we should really do is educate ourselves and then start educating our family.
Yeah, so for Gerhart, that's really nice. No, you start within the family, or basically since LGBTQIA++ is a community, your family is a community, 'di ba? So start with your own community, which is yung sa bahay niyo, 'di ba? Yung mga kasama niyo sa pamilya niyo. Then hopefully with that you can help them open their minds and their eyes regarding the Soji bill, the Soji bill nga, 'di ba? How about for you, Gabby? What have been, yung mga naging activities mo, or what have been the measures that you have taken to actually not just educate yourself but others about the Soji bill?
I think aside from the family, that you should start first with the family. I think it's also important to start with yourself. Because you have to be self-informed. You have to be, well-versed. And I think one thing that I realized upon reading the Soji Bill, it's okay to not know things. It's okay to be faced with things you're not used to, because that's the thrill of it, of having to learn, of having to know more things. And something that I think a lot of people are very scared to do, it's to ask. Because if you don't ask, you won't know things. And aside from like the things that I do within myself and within my family, I think aside from that, the elections, everything is political. So I think that something that we should know is activism. Kasi activism comes in many forms. People stereotype activism as, magpo-protesta. That's only the one thing of it. That's called frontlining, and that's attending protests. But activism actually comes in so many forms that we can apply in the Soji Bill. It's educational, like teaching others, teaching your family. There's also art, just like readings in Philippine history as a first-year student, propaganda in art. See, that's something showing resistance in art. Also, social media, and lastly, I think it's existence as a resistance, which is existing outside social norms. Because if you set an example for others, they're gonna follow. And I think talaga if you talk to your close friends, because for me, honestly, I'd rather, mas maniniwala ako sa mga close friends ko na from their experiences and what they know, kaysa sa ibang tao na parang, wag ka ganyan, because I trust that person. And if that person can give me reliable sources, then what am I gonna like say pa ba? Kasi binigyan na ako ng facts, ba't pa ako pipikit or anything?
Thank you very much, Gabby. So, parang for Gabby, it still starts within ourselves, di ba? Before we actually disseminate or involve others nga. So, Amandine, how about you? So, aside from starting from, mahirap kasi na parang, okay, halimbawa, we already know about Soji Bill. Sabihin natin nga, we already know about Soji Bill. So, what now? How do you share this knowledge now to the rest of the people? Most especially yan, to your loved ones, or not even your loved ones siguro, make to the world, to as much as you, parang to the people that you can reach as much as you can. How do you plan of doing this, or how are there anything that you have done so far, Amandine, na yung parang ganun nga na you have disseminated an idea or a particular discussion, you have initiated discussion regarding Soji Bill, and how did it go?
Never namin really na pag-usapan like Soji Bill itself. Pero yun nga kanina yung sinabi ko na social media is yung pinakamalakas na pang-disseminate. Sabi din ni Gabriel about yung start to theirself, ganun. Pero for me kasi, Soji Bill is parang hard implementation na siya na maging law. Pero what we don't realize is that sometimes hindi naman din siya talaga kailangan if wala naman tayong issues na ganun. Kasi technically, this bill is really to protect all genders. So kung ikaw naman mismo, hindi mo na iniisip yung gender ng tao, pero nire-respeto mo siya bilang tao, hindi na sana kailangan yung Soji Bill. For me, before, yung family ko kasi, I come from an exclusive all girls kasi. So, very common yung, yun na nga yung mga bisexuals, gay. Tapos laging inaano ka ng straight ako. Pero I have a lot of friends who are not straight. And I respect them. And majority ng barkada ko high school, majority sa kanila hindi. Pero I never looked at them in a way na parang iba. Parang pinaparamdam ko na lang sa kanila na parang tao din sila eh. So, the way I act around them, it's nothing different talaga. And yun nga, yung parents ko before na parang nagpapasalamat kami na straight yung anak ko, ganon. Pero nagka-time na question ko sila na parang, what if ako, babae yung gusto ko? Sasabihin nila ng disappointed daw, pero wala naman din akong magagawa. sabi ko, are you gonna treat me any different? So yun na nga parang napapaisip na hindi naman kasi tao ka naman din. Kaya ako doon, sinart ko na sa bahay na parang, ayun naman pala, di bakit yung ibang tao ginaganon yung parang medyo disappointed na ganun sila na yung gender preferences ng taong yon hindi opposite sex, ganun. So medyo na ano ko na dito sa bahay namin ever since na yung nothing to look down upon. Kasi minsan, recently lang din, parang yung dad ko na parang may coworker ata siya na transgender. Tapos parang sinabi, magaling, buti na lang transgender siya kasi magaling siya mag-isip ganun. Interior designer ata siya. Tapos parang question ko siya, medyo nagka-debate talaga kami doon. Kasi ako talaga, ayoko talaga pag inano yung tao. It's not just because I have friends, pero tao kasi yon, bakit may discriminate ng tao? It's just like being racist. Why would you be racist? So yun na parang sabi ko, bakit? Kung lalaki ba yan na straight, iniisip mo na hindi din maganda yung gagawin niya na outcome based sa work niya. Pinapa-question ko talaga siya until nabago ko yung mga isip ng mga tao dito sa bahay na parang hindi dapat nilolock down based sa gender, regardless yung how they identify themselves. So for me, siguro ang nagawa ko so far for this community, kahit hindi ako part ng community na to, pero I respect the people who are part of this community since ako mismo may mga relatives din ako na part ng community, a lot of my friends. So na-establish ko na dito sa bahay namin, sa mismong parents ko na yung dapat tanggalin natin yung stigma and yung perception towards people who belong to this community and what they can do for others din. Kasi ang daming mga tao from the community, sobrang creative talaga nila. Ang galing nila isip. Minsan hanga ako sa kanila na ang galing talaga. Kaya, ayun, establish ko na dito sa bahay namin na ako na mismo ang nagbago sa isip nila na hindi dapat i-disregard nila whether bakla siya or straight or kahit ano pa yan.
And so parang kay Ama din ito also started sa family kasi ang mga kumbaga ang mga nakausap mo primarily would be yung parents mo, di ba? So parang it really started first dito sa family nga. And I think ito nga yung kagandahan din ng episode na to by DSC because ito yung sinasabi ko, parang isa yung mga example wherein although yes, we are part basically etong magiging output natin will be part of the social media, di ba? But the idea, the intention of discussing Soji Bill is really a great opportunity to disseminate yung importance and even give the idea nga about Soji Bill, di ba? Kasi kung lalatong episode na to, may pag-uusapan ba tayo or pag-uusapan ba natin to? Magkakaroon ba ng opportunity all throughout the semester or matatapos na yung semester, mapag-uusapan ba ang Soji Bill? If hindi nangyaring episode na to, hindi, di ba? So, again, DSC, kudos to you for having this Hindi pa po kami nagtatapos I'm just being proud of being part of DSC and being part of the podcast for for the discussion nga nitong Soji Bill. Ayan. So, one of the things na madalas na nagkakaroon ng confusion or rather, isa sa mga pinag-uusapan nga naman, why Soji Bill is being parang hindi tanggap ng iba or hindi naiintindihan ng karamihan is because that for them, Soji Bill is all about same-sex marriage daw being legalized in the country. So, first and foremost, do you agree that this is part of the bill? And what is your stand regarding having same-sex marriage being legalized in the country? Because other countries have already have it, di ba? Kaya nga yung iba pumupunta doon sa ibang bansa di ba? Some parts of the US, some states sa US legalized na. I can't remember the other Asian countries that have already legalized it, but if I'm not mistaken yun, di ba? Parang pumupunta talaga sila. So again, question, is Soji Bill also discussing or nakapaloob ba sa Soji Bill ang same-sex marriage, and why do we actually want if ever nakasama mo to, why do we actually want same-sex marriage to be legalized in the country? Let's start with Amandine.
For me, I'm not that sure kung part ng Saudi bill yung marriage. Pero I guess it's still part of it. Kasi kung ang bill naman it discusses about equal rights din sa kanila, as same as with us, I think it's part. And for me, I think it should be pushed. Kasi wala namang mali sa union of two of the same sex or kahit ano pa yan. Kasi majority, I think yung biggest issue is the reason why ayaw nila i-push dito. It's because our country is very hard on yung sa Catholic belief. Pero for me kasi parang wala namang lagi nila binabato yung nasa Bible na sinyan, ganun. Pero never ko nabasa na bawal yun. Ang alam ko lang is, ang naalala ko is one time yung sabi ng Pope mismo na parang in favor siya of this. Kasi kung doon naman masaya yung tao and wala ka namang tinatapakan, then what is the point of refusing two people being together? So for me, I think kailangan din siyang i-push. Kasi ako din na-witness ko naman din kasi nga sabi ko kanina madami naman ako mga friends who are part of this community and nakikita ko naman how they are with their partners. And parang ang lungkot lang isipin na kung bakit tayo, parang kunwari ako, I can get married to a guy and be happy. Pero sila, na masaya sila sa partner nila, they cannot establish this on paper to make it legal. Ano yung difference niya? Kung ano ako sa partner ko na guy, gano'n naman din yung nararamdaman nila for their partner. So I don't see yung problem on why it should not be legalized. Kasi, yun nga, human rights, deserve naman din nilang maging masaya. Kasi doon lang talaga sila masaya eh. Like, na-identify na nila kung who they are as a person and yung orientation nila sexually. So, yun, for me, yes, push ang marriage.
Thank you very much. How about you, Jer? What is your take on this, let's say, claim na Soji Bill is just a stepping stone nga for same-sex marriage to be legalized?
One, that's the myth. Yun na yung tinatawag natin myth. Because Soji Bill was never and will never be connected with same-sex marriage. It is not a tool to legalize same-sex marriage, but it is essential to strengthen for the legalization of same-sex marriage. But it doesn't mean na pag napasa ang Soji Bill, pasado na rin ang same-sex marriage kasi it is different. Pero alam mo, same-sex marriage kasi is still a taboo topic, especially in our country since we are binded by this cultural and religious belief that immoralize the idea of same-sex marriage. We still have a long way to go, step by step. I think we are not far from having same-sex marriage legal in our country. But the important thing that we are already doing now is that we are already creating dialogues and making connections that help us bring this topic into a much larger audience and be talked about more and more. But for me, before we legalize same-sex marriage, I think we should do something about the loopholes in our system because we should be strengthening the laws that can protect same-sex couples for all the discrimination that can arise once we legalize same-sex unions. But definitely it should be legal because it will strengthen everyone's right because allowing same-sex unions will showcase equality and respect for the choices being made by the people.
Thank you very much, Gerhart. So about you, Gabby, your ideas on this one. So Amandine a while ago was honestly mentioned that she doesn't really know the specific details in Soji, but her belief, when it comes to, since Soji Bill is pushing equality, so anyone, hindi lang boy, girl, anyone, same sex should actually have also the privilege, or rather the right to be to be married to the person that they love. Then Jer actually have given us more ideas on what is really in Soji Bill, na sabi nga, it is a myth. Sabi nga niya, di ba? It is a myth na Soji Bill is not all about just same-sex marriage. It's more than that, di ba? So what else can you add to other ideas can you add to this particular question that we have?
Well, now that we debunked the myth that same-sex marriage isn't actually connected with the Soji Bill, I think we should focus naman on same-sex marriage. I believe that marriage shouldn't actually be exclusive. Kasi same-sex marriage is not only for acceptance, but for the benefits written in the law. Because I believe that what a heterosexual couple enjoys, a homosexual couple should enjoy too. And I think it's also to give chance to, para sa mga bata, especially for orphan children, to grow up in a family na hindi lang heterosexual na parents, but also like homosexual parents as well. And we can't actually consider it, no couple is considered equal talaga in the Philippines unless marriage equality is a thing. And what do you call this? We only want the same things as a straight couple under the law. Kasi I think a lot of people think na what do you call this? Church marriage lang ang meron sa Pilipinas. There's actually civil union. There's we can practice both our civil and secular rights at the same time. But I think for me, we still have a lot to work on before pa tayo makarating sa same-sex marriage. As long as misogynistic jokes and where rape is almost normalized, I think we have a long way to go for same-sex marriage.
Thank you very much. Which is, I think, yan nga yung madalas na misconception na pag sinabi lang ng kasal, we're already thinking about the church wedding, di ba? But there is, in general, ang kailangan is yung the marriage na legal, yung legal union of two, di ba? Because if I'm not mistaken, the idea here why people would like to push for this is because mayroong parang may mga certain situation which is teaser lang mamaya, actually pwede nating yan pag-uusapan natin kasi yung mga na challenges na mga na-experience natin or nakita natin, narinig natin. Ako kasi meron akong na panood dati. It was a series, if I'm not mistaken. There's a gay couple. Ang isang problema nila nun was, so they have been together for the longest time. They have been a couple for the longest time, a gay couple for the longest time. But it came to a point wherein one of the yung husband number one, diba? Parang ganun. Husband number one, or yung partner number one, and I think that would be more appropriate. Partner number one, nagkasakit siya. Okay, and dahil sa law, or rather dahil sa hospital, they are following a certain protocol wherein ang pwede lang na makaalam ng mga status ng patient, di ba, yung mga ganyan, would be legal na mga relatives. Diba? So since the other partner was not technically identified as legal in a legal relationship, diba? So parang nagkaroon siya ng parang hindi siya napayagan to actually learn about what is the situation. Not until dumating so kailangan niya pa actually natawagan yung parents ng partner niya para lang malaman ko anong estado. So yun. But again, that would be later. Teaser pero nag-share. Ayan nga. So second question that we have here is, do you think Filipinos are part of the LGBTQ IA++ community are being treated fairly in our country. So some of you, I think Amandine have already mentioned this, may na-point out siya na example, but have you, like for Gabby and for Jer, have you seen specifically, heard, read, kung saan nagkaroon ng hindi pagkakaroon ng fairness or not being equal basically? And what was the situation? And actually, yun yung pinaka-question nga natin. Yung challenges that that we have experienced or we have seen na with regards to the LGBTQIA community. Let's start first with Gabby.
For me, I think this question actually hits very close to home because I actually have a friend who just came out around 2 years ago or like a year ago. And when my friend came out, they started treating my friend differently, which I find actually really odd. Because I don't want other people to view the people or the people who are part of the community as different entities. Because we're just like you. We just like different genders or we just like the same sex. It's really not a big of a deal as it is. And I think that's a problem that Filipinos who are part of the LGBTQ plus community are facing with, and that they view homosexuals as someone different. And that's something that we shouldn't actually normalize here.
So ayan, kay Gabby, talaga, friend and very recent, no? Kaya sabi niya, close to her heart. Later may share ako. Hindi ko siya friend, pero feeling ko kilala niyo to. Kilala niyo that because na-sensationalize ng konti. Pero mamaya na ako. Si Jer muna. Ayan, Gerhart, about you. Any experience experience meaning not just you with you have experienced it personally, but may probably have witnessed it, you have heard it, read it, mga ganun, na there was really inequality just because that person was part of the LGBTQIA++ community.
I think we can recall the bathroom scene of Gretchen Diaz. I think year 2019, she is a transgender person who was refused to enter the women's bathroom just because he is a transgender. And I think that is one of the best example of gender inequality in our society here in our country. But in general, I think today we are much more visible. We are represented, but we can do more than that. For me, the Filipino LGBTQIA community are still in continuous battle of proving their rights to the point that a lot of people view this as an imposition for them to be accepted. But the sad reality is that we still live in a tolerating country rather than an accepting country. The problem with tolerance kasi is that the LGBTQ community are just being endured rather than being understood. There are still existing lines drawn by the people where they limit up to how much they can only tolerate the LGBTQ community and still resist the idea of them. But what we need is acceptance because it goes beyond that. It goes beyond tolerance. It means that we are eradicating the hate and we are now recognizing the rights of the community without protesting against it.
Thank you. Sorry medyo na-delay lang ako ng ilang seconds doon kasi tawag dito, may tinatry akong hanapin Pinost ko kasi to. Pero since hindi ko siya mahanap ngayon, okay, sabihin ko na lang yung experience ko din with this one because there was this certain reality show, local reality show that was aired. Tapos ang pinaka doon was ang naging scandalous doon or parang naging big deal doon was the people around him, and the people around him was somewhat forcing him to actually come out wherein wala naman as claimed by that person, wala naman siyang kailangang na ibulgar daw. Pero ito kasi mga kasama niya sa doon doon sa place nila. Kasi pag nagsabi ako ng one word, alam niyo na kung anong reality show to eh. Doon sa place nila, lalo na yung parang girl na sinasabi naka-close nga niya kasi tong isa. Sabi niya kasi parang, ba't ayaw niya pang umamin? Ako nga may kapatid ako na bakla. So, tanggap ko naman siya. So, matatanggap naman natin siya. So, ba't ayaw niya pang umamin? So, ako nainis ako doon. Nainis ako in a sense that why do we want to force people to come out in the open para lang i-accept natin sila? Yung sabi nila, ma-accept ko naman sila. Parang gano'n sabi ng babae, ma-accept ko naman siya, may kapatid nga akong bakla. So, but umamin lang siya. And again, yun nga, parang why? Why do we force people to actually, put a label on themselves? Kasi parang sa akin nun, yun yung nilagay ko nga sa nilagay ko nga dun sa post ko na yun. Sabi ko, if even before na come out sila, we're already saying that we have accepted them, then why is the label a need? Diba? Actually, sabi ko nga ganun, for the LGBTQIA++ community, when they say acceptance, it doesn't mean as is kagad na you see them or parang you already identify them as who they are, na lesbian, gay, or whatnot. The acceptance that they need is the normal, or rather the I'm erasing the normal because there's no abnormal acceptance, okay? The acceptance that they want is the same acceptance that we are giving to everyone. Let's say, for example, we have a straight friend. We actually ask them if they're straight. If we have a hint of parang if we see that they are actually straight, we ask them that they're straight. Then dun pa lang tayo makikipagkaibigan. Di naman, di ba? As is. Pero why is it that for others, whenever they see somewhat, halimbawa yan, sa lalaki medyo may pagka-feminine, and when it comes naman sa babae, may pagka-hard, ganyan, cowboy. Why do they actually need to ask if they are gay, they're lesbian? Bakit, di ba? Ang reason ng iba is para at least alam namin so that we can be sensitive, whenever we either throw a joke or whatnot. Ang lagi ko naman sinasabi dyan is, if you think that your joke would actually be hitting or parang would actually be offending someone, di ba? Either you're talking up to a person na sa LGBTQIA or from a straight person. So, kailangan ba talagang mag-joke ng ganon? Diba? So, yun lang. So, parang yun yung pinaka-experience ko. And hanapin nyo na lang sa post ko sa Facebook ko kung ano yun. Pero yun. Hopefully, nabasa nung celebrity na yun. Oops! Ayan nga. So, moving on to our next question. And I think, actually, yung next question natin is somewhat related na rin dun sa pinag-usapan natin na yan. Regarding the challenges or the experiences from the LGBTQIA++ community na witness natin. So probably at this point, what I would just like to ask from everyone, from all of our guests, would be your final words regarding not just Soji Bill, not just LGBTQIA++ community, but what is your final words regarding equality? Let's start with Amandine.
For me, I don't think it's necessary naman to know where the person stands when it comes to their sexuality. Pero just respect others na lang. You have to respect everyone around you, regardless kung ano yung age or yung gender na they identify as. Pero kailangan maging equal when it comes to even sa social mga work, gano'n, or when you just talk to them. Kasi when you respect somebody, mababalik yun sa'yo eh. So, give and take lang siya. And alam ko naman ngayon, present day, mas accepting na yung mga tao, pero syempre di natin ma-avoid na may mga hindi pa rin. Pero siguro pinaka-importante is respect lang. Respect kasi human right din yun eh. Hindi naman kailangan maging bastos. So yun, just sense of decency lang naman din siya. So, ayun. Tapos for people who are in the community naman, don't be afraid to speak out if you feel offended or discriminated. Kasi kahit may mga tao na hindi nila tanggap yun, there's still a lot who accept and would defend the person, yung people from that community. So, ayun. So, yun lang naman.
Thank you very much, Amandine. Gabby, how about you?
For me, I guess my message would be just to be kind and see beyond the labels. Actually, short story lang, but when Kuya Jer mentioned Senator Risa Ontiveros, I was actually really touched because I was fortunate enough to talk to her during her campaign period. And I talked to her about the Soji bill because I've been actually advocating for the Soji bill and all of the other laws that she has passed for the past few years since senior high. And there's something that she said that actually struck me and actually could also be a message for everyone who's listening. It's that the fight that you're fighting shouldn't just be for yourself. It should be for the people you love and for the people who can't actually speak up for themselves. So you have to be a voice for others. And since we're talking about the Soji bill and us in our very closeted country, I think it's nice to quote also Archbishop Socrates Villegas. It's that the work of love should be inclusive and do not promote hatred towards each other.
Thanks. Salamat, Gabby. And lastly, Jer.
For me, ang gusto ko lang sabihin, we still have a lot of work to do. Kasi I think gender equality talaga is really important, especially for the people of the LGBTQ community because we are still being stigmatized, no, derived from the prejudice even existing even before, and that is why we tend to work twice as much from other people because we are in constant battle or we are in constant belief that we have to prove something in order for us to earn respect and recognition that we deserve. Alam mo yung thinking na parang, dapat hindi ka lang bakla lang. Dapat ganito. Hindi ka basta dapat tomboy lang. Dapat ganito ka para irerespeto ka. And I think it adds to the anxiety and the social stress of the LGBTQ community because we are made to believe that people of our sectors will not be taken seriously in our society unless we are exceptional. Kasi nakakasad lang na LGBTQ people are viewed as an entertainment or personalities only. If you will watch the television, nasan ba kadalasan yung mga gays and the, di ba? Karamihan, laging comedy bars, laging nagpapatawa, nagpe-perform. But I don't mean to say na these jobs are something to be ashamed or something to be laughed at. But it is saddening because ito na agad yung pumapasok sa marami. And that's one thing that we need to eradicate. Tapos pag may bakla or may tomboy na pumasok into something na labeled as for the men or for the woman, like for example, the Senate, parang subjected na agad sila sa scrutinization, di ba? Parang lagi sila nagulat, uy, bakla pero naging uy, transgender tapos senador. And nangingibabaw talaga yung pag-scrutinize sa kanila and they are making so much fuss about it. So I think yun talaga yung kailangan nating i-eradicate and I think we need to be much more accepting and I hope one day they will come time na the LGBTQ people or the LGBTQ community will not feel the need to explain or to come out just because they think that they owe everyone an explanation as to why they are like that. I hope sana maintindihan ng marami na hindi kabawasan ng pagkatao yung kanilang gender na pinili. And for the closeted people there, take the time that you need. Don't come out if you are not feeling it. Don't come out for anyone. Do it for yourself. And I think siguro ang para sa akin lang, we should treat coming out as letting people in rather than letting ourselves out to the society.
So thank you very much to our guests. So maraming tayo natutunan ngayon, and it was really a very insightful and educational episode that we have today. And ito nga naman, may pa-quote din ako, di ba? So gaya nga rin ng sabi ni Pope Francis, okay? Sabi niya that parents of gay children should not condemn them but offer support. So kaya ako napili tong quote na to because for those people na nagsasabi na yun nga, being part of the LGBTQIA plus community is actually a sin. If this is a sin, then why is the Pope actually even sharing this, di ba? And if the Pope is able to tell us, future parents or parents ngayon na to show support, to their gay children, who are we, diba, not to support our brothers and sisters of the community, diba? And when I say brothers and sisters of the community, our country, the world, diba? Because race, gender, religion, sexuality, we are all people and that's it. We are all people. We are all equal. Sabi nga ni Connor Franta. O, di ba? Dalawang quotes yun. But more than the quotes, guys, again, thank you so much. Again, the UEDSC firmly stands against inequality because we want to celebrate ourselves. We want to celebrate you. Dahil ikaw, ako, lahat tayo ang pride ng bayan. Once again, Studentistas, my name is James Selting and I'm wishing you all peace, happiness, and love. That's all, everyone. Bye!